Salam and welcome to another TMV podcast brought to you by the Muslim Vibe. As always, I'm your host Salim. And once again, I'm joined by Husam.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Husam,
Wa alaikum salam.
Husam, thank you for jumping on.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here again.
You always, by the way, guys, and I said this to the last guest that Husam jumped on with, Husam is the co-host at times of the Muslim Vibe podcast, but only when he is very much inclined to the guests that we have on. And that's, I guess, a testament. As soon as I told him Ibn Ali Miller, he was like, I am in.
I told you we were brothers.
100%,
We said that walking in.
100%.
Yeah.
There was some bromance going on before we started
Mashallah.
recording.
For the context, I sit over there. We share the office, and I'm sat over here. So whenever there's a good point for me to jump in, I think
Mashallah.
I'm happy to join the conversation.
Yeah, may Allah bless it. I mean,
Thank you.
But it's quite interesting in terms of timing and context and everything else. We've obviously introduced yourself very briefly, and Omar is also here from the Muslim Influencer Network. But I think to give both of you a little bit of context as to how this all came together, at the beginning of this week, we had like our team meeting, and we were talking about the podcast and what kind of content we wanted to do. And interestingly, Hasib said to me that, it's Black History Month in America. It's February. It's like the middle of February right now. We need to get something recorded and get a guest on that's going to be the right kind of guest that can talk about this
Mashallah.
and push it out before the end of the month.
Mashallah.
And I was like, I don't know where I'm going to find the right guest. And then, like, I think the next day on Omar's WhatsApp status story thing.
WhatsApp story is effective now, isn't
Oh
it?
yeah, WhatsApp story is a thing.
I think it's owned by Facebook, right? Yeah. Social media.
Yeah. But on there, you were posting about Ibn Ali coming to London and needing some accommodation. Now, I couldn't help with the accommodation, unfortunately, but I saw an opportunity to be able to get you on. Number one, to talk to you face to face, and I mean, like, I've seen your stuff, and when the initial video of yourself talking to the two guys that were having a fight and breaking up that street fight went viral, I think it was quite a moment.
Definitely.
In that, like, you were kind of, and all the subsequent kind of media and PR that took place, the Steve Harvey show, when you got the award from the local town hall. I can't remember exactly where that was, but all of that, like the framing from yourself, and there was one line that kind of almost reduced me to tears when you were talking about your 15 minutes of fame, and you said that I want to use every single one of those 15 minutes of fame to kind of pay homage to my mum. And for me, it was just mind-blowing seeing someone not getting caught up in the fanfare of it all, but actually just, I mean, let's rewind to the beginning for a second. The fact is, and you were introduced by Imam Omar Suleiman at an event as getting caught in the act of doing good. And he said something to the effect of, in a generation, an era where everyone's getting caught out doing bad, you were caught out doing good. And there was complete sincerity in your actions
100%.
because you weren't expecting this to go viral and LeBron James to retweet or anything like that. But it just became a thing.
And I just want to jump in. I always think it's very important to note that with these viral moments, viral videos that we see on the internet, I think it's very easy for us to isolate incidents as, this was that one time, you know what I mean? And I think it's a testament to what we should be doing online to show that lots of people are doing good things, and these kind of acts should be celebrated.
Absolutely.
And that we should see more of this on the internet.
They are happening.
They are happening.
Do happen.
Exactly,
Yeah.
And I think this is an instance in which it was documented and celebrated in the correct way.
Which was, what was so surprising to me about the whole thing, though, was just that how doing something good, that was big news.
100%.
And that just let me know, I mean, how much bad is being accepted today. So not only for myself, but there are many good men and good women doing many good things in many different places. But I just think the way, where media is today, what's good doesn't get views.
100%.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of start off with the topic of talking about Black History Month. And I think why it's so relevant and why you're probably one of the best guests to be able to come on and talk about this is because a lot of the talks that you give, the framing of it is all around, and that some of the titles include Islam in the Hood. And you talk about specifically the African American indigenous
Absolutely.
Muslim experience.
Absolutely.
So I think for someone, I mean, we live in Northwest London. Our upbringing, our context is entirely, completely different to the world that you've grown up in.
Yes.
Can you offer just a little bit of an insight and an introduction, and also explain why that topic for you is such a kind of passion and something that you speak so much about and from the heart as well?
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa sallallahu sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa sallam. So, okay. Every country, they produce something. And what the country produces its people, right? So I have a concept that we've been developing where we say America's children, right? So it started just as a small writing assignment and a freestyle that we did my first time in London a few years ago, and that turned into an entire idea and also a podcast too that's going to be coming out.
Oh, you're launching a podcast on that?
Leap Year 2020, right? Nice. So inshallah, so about America's children is this: what happened to us, it only happened in America. What do I mean by that? I mean that from the transatlantic slave trade, the descendants of the slaves, right? And how can you signify who's a descendant of the slave and who's just an African? How can you? Because an African, he'll have an African name. He'll even have a language, and he can say, I'm from Gambia, or I'm from Senegal, or I'm from Ethiopia, or one of these African countries. A black man who's a descendant of the slave, his last name is going to be like mine: Miller, Johnson, Baker, Washington, Jones, Willis, Williams, Drummond, right? We still to this day have our slave owners' last names, and we don't have a language, and we don't have any homeland. Like, I don't know. I mean, I know I'm a descendant of people that came from Africa, but I don't know where in Africa, bro. I don't know what in Africa, right? I mean, we know that the coast that we came off, we know that 98% of them that came over here were Muslims. We know all of that, but which tribe did I belong to and which group of people? Who knows that, bro? Not to mention, we're all mixed up with Europeans, Native Americans, Spaniards, right? So the black man is a mixture of all of these things, primarily of African descent from the slaves. So we are our own race. We're not Africans. Right, so even when they put that term African American, that's something that the people who conquered America that they named us.
So you see that as a unique identifier?
No, this is not even a unique. I see it as the unique identifier. Why? Because we are literally our own people. You don't have any other people on the face of the earth who are mixed with this particular things: African, Spaniard, European, Native American, right? And have been with, and we're also the only people in America who are brought to America not by our own will. Everyone else who came to America, other than the slaves, they wanted to come to America, right? So why is this important? Because me and just someone who's just African, and I love my brothers from Africa. Don't take this any way that I don't love my brothers from Africa. I'm just trying to signify to you what it means to be Black American, right? Is that some of the African brothers I know, they ask for a visa to come here, right? They apply for visa, apply for citizenship. They have their second generation, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, tenth, or whatever. But me and my people, we don't even know the first person from our family lineage who were brung here. We're just here, bro. We're just here. So bring that to current day. So that's what America had produced in us. We're just a group of people who don't have a land and don't have a language, and we still have last names that originally weren't ours, right? And the reason why I speak about things like Islam in the hood so much is because Islam in America is what freed the black man from oppression. The civil rights movement, the majority of the players were Muslims. The majority of the people, I mean, you got some notable people like Malcolm X, you have Martin Luther King and Stokely Carmichael and some other famous poets, speakers, reverends, preachers. But most notably, and we know on the ground, no, the Muslims were ahead of that movement. Right? It's not spoken about widely, but on the ground, we know the Muslims were ahead of that movement. And the thing is that there were people like Malcolm X, right? The Imam, he's the American Imam. The Imam, right? Malik al-Haj Shabazz. There were people like him that had he not come along and had he not been martyred, we would never have such dignity in being Muslims. We would never have such dignity in being Muslims.
Can you expand on that?
So, Malcolm X, he was originally part of the Nation of Islam, which is not Islam. This was a black political group, and they took religion as their framework, but it was incomplete religion. And I'm not going to say anything bad about the Nation of Islam because socioeconomically, they did a lot for black people, even though their religion aspect was incorrect. He found out that the religious aspect was incorrect. He went to Mecca, he made Hajj, he became a Muslim. Or became a Muslim, went to Mecca, made Hajj. He came back and his number one priority was teach the people the kalima of La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. His own people killed him for that. right? And for me, when you speak about the English context and you said that you're from Northwest London, my very first time I came to London, Omar took me to Birmingham. I love Birmingham, by the way. And we went to the Abrahamic Foundation, I believe. This is where we went. And so I spoke to the people, and there was an older gentleman there, and he asked me. So he raised his hand. So I said, "Assalamu alaikum, uncle. What would you like to say?" And he said, I find it fascinating. He said, well, what are the blacks in America doing for their condition? How are they using Islam to further their condition? What are they doing? Because we're not hearing from them. We don't hear from them in the media, on the news. But when I was growing up, when I was a young man, the black Muslims in America were the ones putting the punch. Even we felt that over here in England, right? He said, and as a brown person, we were the poor people here. We, as a Pakistani uncle, we were the poor people here. We were the oppressed people in England, right? We didn't have a black oppression here, right? But we had a brown oppression here. And he said to me, but I find it fascinating. He said, the last black Muslim that I heard speak that came to Birmingham to see us in this very place, he said, was Malcolm X. And that blew my mind. I said, wait, what? You remember that day, Omar?
Yeah.
I said, wait, the last black Muslim that has come to speak to you specifically, I'm sure there has been other black Muslims that have come, but the last one that you heard specifically, uncle, right, who went through the 60s and the 70s in Britain, right, who remember the days like where they had like that fake cop group that were antagonizing all of the brown store owners and different things, right? There was he lived through that. And now he's telling me, but the last black Muslim that I've saw to do what you're doing is Malcolm X. So that let me know two things. It lets me know, one, that our context of being English and American is as wide apart as the seas in between us. As wide apart as that. And it also lets me know on the other side that as a black Muslim is that I have to do whatever I can do in my power to the point that keeps me sincere to spread light on what actually happened on the ground in America over the last few hundred years. Why? Because today, there are many, many Muslims in America who are free to be Muslims. They can pray, they can fast, they can take time off of work to pray. If your boss says you can't pray, you can sue your boss now. But all of that work in America for a Pakistani Muslim, an Arab Muslim, a white Muslim, a Turkish Muslim, from anywhere in the world, if you're in America practicing Islam, the comfortability was afforded to you by the black struggle. I.e. civil rights, i.e. Malcolm X, i.e. Nation of Islam. Yeah. Right? So for me, it's very important now that I have this particular platform that I use this platform to let everyone know, at least in America, what platform you're actually standing on.
I think what's interesting about that is I've heard, I think we had Nabil Abdul Rashid, who's a comedian, on our podcast, and he was talking about, the discussion was about anti-blackness in the Muslim community.
MashaAllah.
And he was basically talking about the fact that even like the Muslim civil rights movements and groups like CARE, and in the UK we have MCB and various other organizations.
I'm familiar.
He was basically alluding to the fact that all of them, as you just mentioned, are standing on the shoulders of the black rights movement in America. And even the philosophies and the ideologies that we've now incorporated into modern struggles still all stem from the black struggle that took place predominantly in America and the civil rights movement there. So it's quite, I guess, encouraging to hear you kind of echo that, because it just reinforces that notion.
No, yeah,
and it's something that people need to
should
understand.
Be fair. CARE's doing a great job. MCB's doing a great job.
Yeah.
All of these organizations, they're doing a great job. They're doing what's in their capability, right? Yeah. And I think politically speaking is that whenever you look at some type of quote unquote movement, for lack of a better term, right? But whenever you look at some type of structure that are trying to change policy and change law, right? Is that you got to follow the money. So today, CARE, they have to attack those issues that's going to affect the money, so that way the opposing side will then pay attention. Mm-hmm. If this will affect us financially and take food out of our children's mouths, then this is something we need to listen to, right? But if it doesn't affect me financially, it doesn't affect me in real reality, we'll continue to do what we need to do. So just like the black movement, what got the civil rights bill passed, it wasn't that Kennedy loved black people. That wasn't the issue. No, it was the boycotts. It was black people saying, you know what? I'm not going to give my money to your business. And your business is going to crumble because you need me to support your business. There are so many of us who ride this bus. And you know what? We'll walk. right? And then the housing projects came about, right? Where in Chicago, I think it's like I think this is maybe 65 or so. Don't quote me on that. I could be wrong. Where he wants to implement fair housing in Chicago. And when he wants to implement fair housing in Chicago, is that then it becomes a big problem. Then King gets killed. So I think politically speaking, I think you have to attack the money is the only way to make a real change. Because
how do you think on the ground today? Can we take those lessons and implement them? In what way do you think that we can do that?
I'm not a politician.
Yeah.
I'm not a politician. So the answer to that question is I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying from what I see of people who are like, I don't have an organization. I'm not a part of any organization. I'm not a part of any group I'm just Muslim, bro, from the hood, bro. And I just love my people. God gave me a platform and I'm trying to use that platform because it may be a short one to enhance the lives of my people. No one else is going to do it for us. So I'm trying to do that for us. So I'm not a part of anybody, right? Except the blacks. I'm not like, you know what I mean? Like poor blacks from the ghetto, east side of America, from where they buried us. That's who I'm with.
Yeah,
right?
What I think is interesting is that you do, as we're speaking before the podcast as well, I think you are alluding to the notion of that we can all relate in some way. And I think it's very important that we, as a global Muslim community, and specifically a community in the UK, that we look to the, as you said, the people in America that executed these movements and were successful, that we learn from them, and then hopefully
to bridge those two from the point that we're coming from and the point that we're going to.
Yeah.
Right. So we're speaking about the question that I said I don't know to was how can we use those experiences from those groups in the past to do what we need to do today, to that effect.
100%.
And then we start speaking about this global concept.
Yeah.
Right. So how does that translate? Or how does that relate to each other? Because I guess maybe I do know what we should do with all that stuff. I think it didn't work. I think it doesn't work. I think politics don't work. I think it's a waste of time. I think buying freedom is not real.
Yeah.
Right? I think paying for someone to speak for you is just not a real thing. Right? But what I do know to be real, and I saw this happen with blacks in America, is Islam. Islam is real, bro. And so now globally speaking, what's going to work for an Englishman, an American man, a Chinaman, anywhere else in the world, an Asian man, what's going to work for him is practicing Islam in his capability. And I think for any given people, any group of people, especially underserved poor people, no matter where you are, right, is because you remember the Prophet ﷺ came, it was a bunch of poor people, bunch of slaves, free slaves. You gotta remember the beginning Muslims, right? These were like the scum, right? How we would look at them, these were the scum, right? And look at what we have from that. So to make that point is that I think globally what needs to be highlighted more is literally just practicing the religion. Because if I'm really a Muslim, right, and I walk that and I talk that, it doesn't matter if you wear a thobe or you dress like Omar or you wear Vans or, dress like you, right? Right? Is that it doesn't matter what you look like on the outside because Allah only sees who you are on the inside. Yeah. That's what Allah says. Allah looks at the form, but he pays attention to the heart, right? Or most hidden in the breast and all these different things. So it's not about what you look like. It's about the walk that you're walking and who you're walking past.
So in relation to the video that the incident actually occurred,
we're on the same vibe.
It's the Muslim vibe, bro. You know what I mean? This is global.
So do you think that was a driving factor in maybe the behavior that pushed you to do that? And would you encourage people to look at the teachings in Islam to help them do the same kind of thing?
Absolutely. I had quit my job. I was doing construction, and we started a contracting business. So I was doing some construction. I hardly knew how to do a lot of work, like mastery work. I was a laborer for some years before that. But the older man, Salim, that taught me how to, not even he taught me, he made me learn how to do contracts, and he made me learn how to read blueprints. So when he died, he left me just a few things to have a business with. And so I continued on that. And I used to get work, and I would just sub the work out. Because I knew how to get the work, I know how to read the work, and I know how to pay people, but I know how to do the work, right? But then I had a hard time in business because it's hard to do a business that you don't know how to do, right? Yeah. So I can help on the job, but I can't even run my own job, right? So being frustrated, the junior chewed me up and spit me out, and I abruptly quit, and then I entered to a program, a 40-day program at El Maqasid in Pennsylvania with Sheikh Yahya. and we learned Arabic. We did Risala to Jamia. We did Arba Ibn Nawawi. We did Bidayah to Hidayah, Imam Ghazali, and some other books as well. We started with the Baykuniya, right? Like we were just beginning stuff. It's not big learning, but it was our beginning. And after Dhuhr every day, we start Fajr every day, and then we have a break at Dhuhr, and then after Dhuhr, we come again at Asr, and we go all the way until Maghrib. That was a class for 40 days, right? Different teachers before about 8 hours a day. And I was taking a break at Dhuhr, and I really wanted to take a nap. Like my wife, like we turned our bedroom into the house musalla. So we were sleeping on the floor. We got like a green carpet and we got a green light, and it was like the green dome. And we had pictures of like sacred places on the wall, and and the kids, we homeschool. So every morning we would wake up, say the attention to my dad, eat our breakfast. I would go into the room, our bedroom, close the door. Now I'm in the musalla, I'm learning, and then the kids will be on the other side in the living room doing their homeschool with my wife, right? So this is my life when I went viral, right? And we were sharing a cell phone. I didn't even have my own cell phone. I didn't have a Facebook. I canceled my Facebook maybe a year or so before that. Because for us, I got Facebook at 18. You had to be in college to get Facebook. So I waited to get to college. I finally got a Facebook. And then 2 years after that, now my mom's on Facebook. I'm like, wait, what is going on? Right? So I see my mother-in-law. I'm like, okay.
The world's changing quick.
Yeah, time to delete pictures, right? So yeah, and how much change has been made, right? So I'm taking this break and I just want to take a nap. And then the phone rings. It's my mom. So, we're Muslims. Prophet says, your mom, right? So I'm like, she's asking me a question, and I'm like, okay, right? And so I got up to fulfill her request, and then in the way of fulfilling her request, I went to the corner store to get a bag of Swedish fish. I said, okay, I'm out. My wife's trying to make me a zahid, so she's not feeding me, right? So I said, okay, I got a buck on me, right? I'll go spend $1 and steal some Swedish fish, right? You have a little sweet treat before I go in the house. I didn't even bring it back for the kids or anybody, right? So I'm driving down the street with my little Swedish fish, a little bag of Swedish fish, like 20 of them in the bag. I'm throwing them up, catching them like that, right? And then I see these kids, and I'm just like, yo, like this is too nice of a day, bro. Just like the weather's great, right? It was like March or April or something, right? The weather's great. The neighborhood looks nice. All the kids are getting out of school, right? People walking their dogs. I'm Shafi. I don't even like dogs, right? I love dogs, right? But the najasa with the all the rulings and all that. People walking their dogs, nice day, kids riding their bike, right? Then you got a group of the high school kids. You got to remember about the high school kids. The high school kids are usually the most influential kids in the neighborhood.
100%.
Those are the big kids outside playing ball. Those are the big kids riding their bikes. Those are big kids on the weekend walking in groups, piled up at the store. But the high school kids are who you see.
Yes.
The young kids see them coming to and fro with their parents, or the older people see them coming to and fro. But the high school kids are who inhabit the neighborhood, right? So you see this group of high school kids, right? So they have more influence than anybody on the block. But the block looks great. Got like old ladies walking dogs, kids getting out of school. It's like it's a great American day. You know what I mean? And it's like so. And then I saw them begin to fight, and I don't know what I would lie if I said I knew what made me get out of my truck. I would be lying to you.
Yeah. So you were driving?
I was driving, yeah. There's a truck you see in the thing. It's my truck. I hopped out the truck.
Because I was going to say that even...
And you know what? I even put my Swedish fish down. No one asks me about that. They never say do you sacrifice your Swedish fish?
But what I was going to say is that walking past something like that, and Omar, I apologize. We will get you in the conversation.
No, this is about him today.
You know what? Omar comes in the conversation.
We will.
Later.
We will get there. I've just been conscious of the fact that he's been patiently waiting.
No, I told you from the beginning that the focus is on him.
No, he's Omar's like a volcano.
It will come.
He's dormant until
So look, what I was gonna say is that for someone to walk past that, there's obviously a couple of things that go through your head. Oh, I want to stay out of this. Let me avoid this. Some people will go pull out their phone, start recording like all of their friends were doing.
And some people think that it's not their place.
Yeah,
or
you don't know what's happened,
messing
right?
around.
But I'm a black man, right? No, I'm right. Like Malcolm X didn't say that wasn't my place.
But
right.
So the interesting thing is though, you didn't just say, "Hey guys, stop it." Like you got in there and you said, "I'm not leaving," and you said that about 10 times. "I'm not leaving until you guys stop it." But the thing is, it wasn't even like you were being courageous at that moment.
Because you know what? I was only imitating what I had saw.
When had you seen that?
No, there are groups of men who I've watched take guns out of people's hands. And so I'm telling you, in my community, what I did as far as that actual community on the East Coast of America in Atlantic City, New Jersey, it just wasn't a big deal. 2 blocks away, bro. What you have to understand is this. Each generation are worse in some ways than the past generation, and then they have some things better, right? So all of our predecessors, generation, when it comes to like street life, they were all worse. Like we don't like our parents, when they were in the streets, they were way more gangster than we were when we were in the streets. And the people who produced them, they were way more gangster. But then you have media creeping up through the 80s, through the 90s. Now I grew up with media. My little brother, the first cell phone he had, I had Nokia green screen, play Snake or Brick, something like that. My brother's first cell phone was an iPhone. He's been FaceTiming from the beginning, right? So I used to have to put my phone down and then go on the computer to go social media. But my brother's first phone came with all the apps, So in the context you're speaking about generation, we have these different things. And then each generation, for some reason, it seems like each generation, they have like a better living than the previous generation. So their living condition, right? Like mommy and daddy grew up hard and then you grew up better. And then your kids will grow up better than you and grow up better than you. But then you also get worse in some ways too, right? So this group of kids coming from, we come from, and this is not to discredit them, right? But we come from a generation before social media where someone could shoot you and no one across the street would know. Now, I mean, everyone's going to know. But before, people dropped like flies. It didn't make the news. It wasn't media. It's media now because people can now produce their own media, which is how people like Omar come into play, right? And so I think to tie it all in is that these kids weren't the bad kids. What you saw in that fight was actually me trying to break up a fight between good kids. And when I broke up the fight between 2 good kids, it wasn't for just the sake of the kids. It was for the sake of their parents and then for the sake of the community at large. Why? Because we can't afford to lose any more good kids, especially young black men. We need all of the good young black men that we can find. But here's the thing, where we're from, if I lose a fight, the pressure behind losing a fight, it almost always results in me picking up a gun. When good kids pick up guns, they make bad mistakes. And so that's what you've seen in that video, trying to break up some fights between good kids, because in Islam, prevention is the best protection. You want to prevent a thing from happening, right? You want to prevent that thing.
But
so that's what I was trying to do. For
me, and I don't know how obviously you've seen the video, I'm sure, like multiple times, but it was how instinctive this whole thing was to you.
Alhamdulillah.
And I think, honestly, it's inspiring. And that's, I think, what moves so many people. Just that it was second nature. Like, I didn't know you were driving and you decided to get your car. I thought you were walking past and you just were like, okay, I need to go through that way. Let me break them up so I can carry on, live peacefully.
Yeah, go on.
But that's the inspiring thing here. Like that, it's your fitra basically.
No, when
it's part of your DNA for you to do something like this.
You know what? I disagree. It's just a part of Allah's qadr.
But that's your humility speaking.
MashaAllah. Because
genuinely,
you know what I realized from this video? Right, because I'm on the Muslim vibe. We got a vibe. It's a vibe, right? Hashtag it's a vibe, right? Like the Muslim vibe is a vibe, right? So we're here. I'm in England. I'm representing black people from America, right? What it shows me is that Allah can do whatever He wants to do. And then also, if I look back on my life, I see that Allah, because one of our teachers, Sheikh Muhammad Mendes, he said one time in the lesson, he said that Allah Ta'ala, He raises you through experiences. So I look back on the experiences in my life and I look now and I say, oh, wow, Allah, you were preparing me for this, whatever this may be. And today, through these experiences, He's preparing me for something else. And now I realize that. But I also realize that people don't know a lot of good things about Black Americans. So you got like Jay-Z in the media, right? You have rappers, athletes, this, that. You have gangster movies. But what you see on the media here in England, when I turn on the TV or the YouTube, a bunch of negativity comes up. But that's on purpose. That's on purpose. So one thing that we want to do to counteract that, speaking about Black History Month. So on my Instagram, I do a Black History series where I write a story about a notable Black Muslim that I know either locally or globally, personally, how I know them, what's my personal connection with them, right? And then who they are, what they did for the dawah, what they did for the Black community, and where they are today. To highlight the point that I come from a long line of good Muslim black men. I'm telling you, it's just that who cares to speak about that, right? Like you got Malcolm X, so why are you gonna speak about anybody else? But after Malcolm X, there are so many people who grabbed the torch, lit the torch, kept the torch from going out, and they passed it to us, you know. And I think,
and in that moment where I think within that video, rather than just limiting it to breaking up the fight, but then sharing your knowledge and trying to instill with them some education and the way that they should be.
You know what? I think
maybe a note to
I didn't know the kid was recording.
Yeah.
Like I told you at the time, I didn't have a cell phone, and this is not me trying to say I'm some type of zadhead. No, this is me trying to say I was broke. I got a bunch of kids. I got a house. I got a car, and I'm a struggling contractor. Sometimes construction pays, but on that year it was not paying, right? And my poor wife, she's making rice every which way you can imagine, like we're eating boiled rice, fried rice, microwave rice. We might even try raw rice. You know what I mean? Like we had rice and chicken in any way you could think of. So I did not have a cell phone, not because I was trying to be a zadhead, no, because I was like, nah, man, that's not economically sound to have two phones, right? But because of that, I was 26, and I hadn't been in the streets, like living the street life for at least 5 years at that point, maybe even more. So I'm very removed. I'm seen as like an OG. I'm seen as I'm not seen as like, I'm young globally, but in my neighborhood, I'm one of the older guys.
Yeah.
And the younger guys, they look at someone like me and say, wow, all his friends are dead or in jail. Everyone that they watch me grow up with, all of those guys are literally dead or in jail. So they'll listen to me and give me the benefit of the doubt of what I'm saying, not because of who I am, but because of who I used to walk with. And I'll say, okay, you're not dead, you're not in jail. What worked for you? And all I have to tell them is Islam. So I didn't even know the kid was recording. I didn't realize all of what was happening.
Yeah.
I didn't like, and I seen the kid with the phone. I don't know why I didn't think this kid's recording me, but I don't know. I just wasn't thinking that. You know what I mean?
I'm sure it's something that you've now reflected on many times over.
Yeah, a number of times.
For people to kind of just think, and it's something that again you've said a few times in other talks and conversations that you've had. But you went from kind of working 10 hours a day contracting and doing everything else to now traveling the world, subhanallah, and speaking about Islam, subhanallah, and how one act. And this is the thing, right? You keep saying subhanallah, you're right. One act that was done with complete sincerity has literally changed your life. And it's so significant. Like you can't, there's no way in that moment you could have been thinking, oh, everything's going to happen now because I've done this.
My only thought now is subhanallah, alhamdulillah, la ilaha illallah, wallahu
akbar. But this is what I mean. I know for you that's what's in your head. But
can I be honest with you? I'll kick it with you because this is a vibe. It truly is. And I'm feeling the conversation. When the video went viral, I got home and my nap is ruined. My nap, because we're following the sunnah, trying to take my sunnah nap, little 20-30 minute, right? So I wasn't gonna take a long nap anyway. I'm just trying to get like a little, right? Because studying is hard, bro. It's like 100%. Yeah, my teachers are hard, bro. They're not like, when they're out in like public, they're all nice, but when they're teaching though, like they just want you to like learn, right? So studying is like, it's intense, it's right. So I just want to take a 20-minute nap, right? So I completed the task that my mom gave me, which is between us. And I had my Swedish fish. Okay, good. I'm on the way back home. I got some Swedish fish that my wife doesn't know about, right? And I'm just, you know what I mean? I'm
going to some of the Swedish fish.
You know what I think about, just come to mind about this video is, number one, it had incredible potency because we're still talking about it 3 years later. But the other interesting aspect is that it shows that there's a real lack of inspiration and proud moments that Muslims can feel proud of, because a lot of people didn't know Ibn Ali was Muslim until he went on the Steve Harvey show, and that strengthened everyone's like, yes, this is one of our people. So I think
that actually hurt me more, as far as like if I wanted to be like a famous person, it would have made more sense for me to just be like a smart black guy and kind of just also be Muslim. So it kind of it ruined my chances of like all the big proud black people to kind of take me under their wing and do, because we have this horrible concept of like when we say Muslim, you just automatically now think of Asians or Arabs or right, like the rich Desi uncle, right? So
but I think there's a multitude of
no, it is,
and I think it's a global conversation. I think everyone can take some inspiration from it.
I think to the point that Omar is making is that if this is advice that I have for anyone who's ever thrown into the spotlight who didn't ask for it, is that this is why you have to truly be who you are every day of your life, because you don't know on what day your life's going to change.
Yeah.
And on that day your life changes, everyone's going to see who you really are, because you're not going to be able to be anything other than that, right?
Let's actually bring Omar into the conversation.
Inshallah.
Thank you for being so patient.
No.
It's just I mean, there's so much kind of background we need to start with. But your motto is don't just inspire. No, sorry. I knew I was going to get that wrong. Don't just influence, inspire.
Yeah.
And I feel like someone like Ibn Ali is almost like
inspire,
the cardboard,
educate, learn, and engage.
But the 4 L's, right?
MashaAllah.
Close enough. But like he's basically the kind of model influencer in that sense.
Yeah.
No,
I don't mean like what I mean is in terms of the positioning and what you're trying to do with the platform. Like I said, when you had this 15 minutes of fame, you spoke about it right at the beginning.
Okay.
You wanted to use that to give credit to your mum. And for you to even kind of say that at the time, it just shows what kind of a person you are. So then I think
he was never trying to do this for his own self-interest.
Exactly. And what's interesting then is how you kind of fit into the picture and what you guys have done together. So how did you guys meet in the first place?
So how you want to do this?
So I like over 100 million people saw the video.
Omar found me, man. Like I was like I told.
Okay, I'll tell you something. Do you remember that Fresh Prince of Bel-Air episode where Ashley's singing for the first time with his headphones and Will Smith sees those dollar signs above her head? He's like, ching, ching. Yeah. I didn't see that. I saw legacy above his head, and I've seen that with other people. And when I see that, I want to work with that person because I don't want their talent to go to waste.
I mean, like I was telling you about that day, so I left home. I didn't know the kid was recording me. I got home to tell my wife because she's in the house with this healthy meal that's like nothing on the plate because she wants to be his ad, right? So I got home. I'm talking to her, and I was upset. And I'm telling her, I'm like, yo, these kids were fighting, and so when me and her talk about it, we talk about how I came. That's how she found out about the fight. I came home upset. I almost cried, right? For the sake of being sincere, I almost cried. Like, I was just like, man, these kids, they don't understand what they have. That neighborhood that we live in, when my mom got out of the projects, she moved to that neighborhood. When I started a family, I moved to that. It's the best neighborhood in the city you can live in, right? So these kids, they don't know what they have. There are kids across the boulevard, a couple blocks away, who literally are murdering each other, and right? So I was very upset. And then we finished the day, and we went to sleep, and our phone started ringing. The first call I got was like 2 a.m. from someone from Good Morning America. Who wanted to send a car to my house at 6:30 in the morning for me to come on Good Morning America. I'm like, click? Like, what are you saying? You know what I mean? Like, mind you, we're sleeping in the mass shit / room that we have that's, ain't no whatever. And then my phone just started, and so my wife and I, we look at each other and we say, we just turn it off. Right? Yeah, so we go to sleep. And we woke up and, there were news reporters everywhere. And I didn't think anything of it. The guy from Channel 5 came. He knocked on the door. We didn't answer the door. We like hid because my door was like a big glass, so you could see through it. So we like hid. We hid behind a wall, right? And
someone's phone.
Yeah, it's time for Maghrib for someone.
Somewhere in the world, it's Maghrib.
But we hid behind a wall, like in the house by the mantle, and we were like, the news is at the door.
They were outside.
They were not. They were at my door. But I have a glass. At the old house. I had a glass door. So we were knocking at. I don't have a glass door anymore. But I had a glass door, and so they were knocking at the door. But he's like, "Hey, Ibn Ali Miller," like that, So me and we're telling the kids, "Shh," right? The kids are like, "Why are we being be quiet?" Like that. So they're yelling, "Why should we be quiet?" Yeah. So and then my mom called me and told me that people were calling her and told me to like, well, something's happening, son, and you need to prepare for it. And I don't think you're going to be able to run from this, so you need to walk into this chin up, And I was like, nah, mom, I ain't going on TV, She says, well, son, I think you have to. She says, you don't have to do a lot of it. She says specifically, I don't want you to do a lot of it. She said, but just do enough to satisfy Allah. And so I took that advice. I'm still taking that advice. And that's kind of what I roll with, doing enough to satisfy Allah. Point being, though, at that time, that's before Steve Harvey. So Ellen DeGeneres, TD Jakes. TD Jakes is Christian. He's not even Muslim, right? But I never talked to TD Jakes again. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So Ellen DeGeneres, TD Jakes, Steve Harvey, a bunch of people, right? Other TV people and the news and everything. And so I decided, so then I went on Steve Harvey. I don't agree with Steve Harvey's his particular religious views or his particular religious views or his particular political views. I don't agree with Steve Harvey. I don't think anything bad about him, and I'm thankful for the opportunity they gave me. But I didn't go on the show because I agree with him with his methodology. No, I went on there just because I didn't want to be on TV, being interviewed in such a personal way. Because whoever's going to get that first interview is going to be personal. So I said, okay, this is the only black man I can really go with. I'm just going to go with this black man. So at least that way, the people will see two strong black men. It'll show a good light for black people, right? So that's why I went on Steve Harvey. But I'm going on as a Muslim, and I'm not going to say that was a problem with Steve Harvey at all. But maybe if I would have wore a suit and tie, or just did the nice black man thing, maybe would have did a little bit better. In the rating business world of it all,
But I think credit to you. I think you held yourself very well, and you for.
But he asked great questions.
Yeah.
The producers were great. The people behind the scenes were great. I have absolutely nothing bad to say about any of them. They were great, right? And they allowed me, they allowed me to say what I wanted to say, and I think that's a good thing. But we were talking about how I met Omar.
Yes.
So what happens is, from some experiences, is that I got really very quickly, I got real worried about the whole thing. And I was just like, I'm not doing this at all. I don't want to do it. I don't want to be around it, And so people who would just email me or this or that, we would just ignore them for weeks and weeks and weeks. And then we seen an email from Omar, like we see all the emails. And of course, we didn't answer it. Some guy saying, I think you're special and we want to work with you. I'll even work with you I don't have to make any money. So now I'm like, I don't trust this guy. He doesn't want to make any money. Everyone wants to make money, right? So we didn't answer. And then he sends me a Facebook message. Because we uploaded our Facebook again because now then he emailed me on, I had an old Instagram account that I didn't delete. That I just, Instagram, you don't post pictures, you just kind of just ghost, So he sent me a message on an old Instagram account and that popped. I'm like, I didn't even know I had an Instagram, right? On an old Instagram account, right? And then he went on YouTube from one of my old rap videos from like 2015 and commented on the YouTube video, right? So when he did that, I looked at my wife, I was like, who is this kid, right? My wife said, I think, she says he's really been trying really hard to find you and to speak with you. I think he's trying so hard to speak with you. You shouldn't blow him off. Yeah. So when I originally spoke with him, I was just trying not to blow him off. I didn't want to be like I wanted to answer the phone and then let him down easy for whatever he was going to ask me, right? And then I talked to him. I just told him, I said, "Assalamu alaikum. Hey, my name's Ibn Ali." And then he gave an introduction of himself. He mentioned MIN from the very beginning. And then he says, do you want to do dawah for the rest of your life? I'm like, what? Right? At this time, everyone's talking about a deal. Everyone wants to make some kind of money, right? I started doing endorsements for like Lululemon and so there's a bunch of ways you can take this. There's a money route, right? And I don't want to be naive, right? And to tell people I didn't consider taking the money route. I did. I said, wait, we can make a quick $100,000. Let's make a quick $100,000, because it's hard to help your people when you're poor. But in order to make that $100,000, you got to do some stuff that maybe a Muslim shouldn't do, right? Or compromise your principles that maybe shouldn't be compromised, right? So I got this guy on the phone who wants to work for free, right? Who wants to help me give dawah for the rest of my life. So now I'm like, okay, Omar, what do you want? He said, I want to bring you to England. I was like, what? I said, bro, I've never even been out of the country. He said, yeah, I know, but I think you would be very effective in England, right? And I said, what? I remember the question I asked. It was really stupid, so I'm not going to ask God. I want to sound stupid. But I asked him a really dumb question, basically to the effect of, why would anyone want to listen to me in England, And he says, you're inspiring, right? and he says, when I saw the video and then I saw that you were Muslim, he said, it instantly made me proud to be a Muslim. And if someone tells you that, that's a responsibility. That's not to make you feel high. That's not to make you feel better or more, right? That's to make you understand that Allah Ta'ala gave you something where someone saw you and was reminded of him. That's a responsibility, right? So now I'm saying, okay, now I have to have a relationship with this guy, right? And so we started a relationship. He brought me to England the first time, 2017. It was my very first time out of North America.
Crazy.
Before I went to the East, before I went anywhere else, before I traveled anywhere else, the very first place that I came to internationally, my first time ever leaving American soil, was right here to England.
So I think it's
important. Gateway.
Yeah, I think on the flip side, I think it'd be important if you almost share what is the work that you do and your involvement and what you're trying to achieve with MIN.
So in 2016, I met my business partner, Saif. And what we realized is that there's hundreds of thousands, literally hundreds of thousands of Muslim influencers who are doing all sorts of things. It's like Wild Wild West. They're, posting selfies, which is fine. You're posting pictures of their food, which is fine. But what are actually people doing to make an impact on people's lives? How can they use their platform to make their audiences better people, to make the communities that they have reached to want to connect with their faith, connect with each other, do something positive? So we realize there's all these thousands of influencers out there, but there's no one actually managing them. There's no one to look after them. There's no one to inspire them. There's no one to educate them, to help them achieve something in life. So we came together to do exactly that, to work with Muslim influencers to harness their potential to make the world a better place, so that they don't just influence, but they also inspire. And this is why when I meet people like Ibn Ali, it's too much of a good opportunity that I can see in the vision that there's something positive here. There's something that, and I've seen it with other people as well. But Ibn Ali in particular, amongst everyone that I've met, is one of the people I see one of the biggest visions with. So
if I can also just quickly jump in and comment.
He's just a nice guy. This guy, yeah.
No, but this is what I'm saying. I mentioned to you guys before that I've known Omar for a few years now, and being in this kind of Muslim space, at least in the UK, you get to know people very quickly. You get to know the different organisations and individuals that are trying to do things. Yeah. And we met some years ago. I don't know if you remember. It was in Stratford, I think, in the
with Saif Adam and
with Saif Adam. Yeah. That was quite a while ago. But what was very interesting, what I've seen over time, is that there is like an underlying message to what you're doing. Because there are a lot of cowboys. I don't know which one to use the word cowboys. Yeah. There are a lot of people that are cowboys in this space.
Yeah, man.
As you said, it's all about making a quick buck.
Yeah, man.
Like creating a platform for business, creating a platform as a monetary opportunity.
And may Allah help and protect the Cowboys. I mean, yeah.
You mean the NFL? You mean the NFL team, right?
I mean, anyone who's only in the kind of spaces that we're in to make a buck.
Yeah.
May Allah help them and give us sincere attention.
But that's it, right? But then at the same time, I've seen, and I can't obviously know for sure, but I've seen people through the work that they're doing. I've seen that there's a greater agenda, and it's something more than just money. It's something more than just power and influence, but it's like something deeper.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I've seen that you guys are trying to create and develop.
That's our purpose. That's
your influence.
So of course we have a business. It is essentially a business. We run marketing campaigns for brands to tap into the Muslim consumer market. Yeah. But as a mission, our purpose for the business is to utilize the platforms and the talent of influencers to make our world a better place, to make our world a more interconnected place, where we can build bridges, where we can inspire people, where we can bring them closer to their faith.
And I think we as the community, we need, we want, and I guess we need individuals like yourself and organizations like yours to put together a kind of strategy for influencers, because otherwise it's the wild, wild west, as you've said, right? Everyone's doing their own thing, and it sometimes it takes someone who's been there, who's worked with artists, who's worked with individuals, to kind of be able to shape and like mold, especially young and impressionable influencers themselves. Like nowadays, like you're talking about your younger brother getting an iPhone and suddenly thinking, we've grown up on social media. Yeah. Like I was 13 when I got Facebook. We had to make the rules.
What?
But what I'm saying is, like, I remember when the first time
I was 13 with a Game Boy.
I look older than you. I'm actually probably a little bit younger. I have to clarify this. Everyone sees my.
How old are you, Salim?
No, that's. I'm 29. I know I look quite old.
No, we're the same age.
Are we the same age?
Yeah.
Oh wow,
crazy.
But in England, maybe it was the same, because you know the
water's really bad here. That's what it is.
They'll say the what?
The water. So the water.
Well, hey, the water.
Back in the shirt.
He said the water.
The water.
The water.
I hate it whenever I go to America and I ask for water.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, what? And I have to be like, oh, water.
Yeah.
I don't do accents. But yeah, no, I think it's amazing what you guys are doing, and
Thank you.
You're here for kind of 2.5 weeks.
3. I think we leave. The rest of the month and the beginning of March.
That's awesome.
But one thing I want to say, just like what they do with the MIN, because because I'm against like Muslim mainstream. Not against. I don't say against, but I'm against Muslims. Not against. Maybe against is the wrong word. But I've always had like this thing, like when Muslims trying to go into mainstream, I feel like we should be our own stream, because when you go into the mainstream, maybe you'll get lost in the river. Yeah. Right. So And so for a long time, it took me a while for me to say, okay, Omar, like, you know what, this work that I'm doing with you, it doesn't have to be personally just between me and you anymore. You know what, I'm down, whatever, if you think it's best and I can help in my end, I'm down to help them anyway, as long as the dawah was not compromised. And we haven't even come close to crossing that kind of a bridge. And what helps us not cross that kind of bridge, I seen one time you were giving some advice to some influencers. I'm not saying I'm an influencer. I'm just a Muslim. And I think the greatest sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is how influential he was. To this day, he's the most influential man who ever walked the face of the earth. So when you use this word influence, any Muslim should be influential. Even if it's not globally, if it's just locally, in one's own house, on his street, on his block, his neighbors, any 100%. Real Muslim, you should be influential. This is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So from that standpoint, but I heard him give some advice to some young, energetic people, like you were speaking of. And I forget the third one, but 2 out of the 3 was to have a purpose, like know and identify what your purpose is, right? My purpose for my whole life is to worship Allah. So that's what I'm going to do, right? And if being on the camera is gonna support that, then I'll be on the camera. But if being on the camera doesn't support that, then we won't be on the camera. Like whatever, I'm right. So you have to find what is your purpose, right? So, and once a person identifies that, there was one in the middle, but then the last one, the third advice was, and then to keep in mind what is the end goal. And I was like, nah, you got it, kid.
The other one was have mentors. Have
mentors. This is the biggest, the key point, because I was going to say is that and another thing, the only reason why I'm even with Omar or I'm back in England or have been to England so many times now, we've been here like 6 or 7 times now, or been to England so many times now, and each time I've come, I've literally traveled the country almost every one of those times except one, right? So I'm only here because my mentors and my teachers, they said it was okay for me to come. I don't do anything off my own aspiration. I ask my teachers before I bust a move, is this good for me? Do you think it'll hurt me? Right? I ask my religious teachers, and then I also ask the older black men who watch me grow. Is this good for me? Will this hurt me? Will this hurt us? Will this compromise us? Right? Will I still be able to carry the torch in the future? Will your mentors can help you? Never forget the end game, because they're already there.
And I think a question for both of you guys is how do we seek out these mentors? How any words of advice?
That question is going to be different because the context is different. So for us,
there's an interesting dua actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
Allahumma dulluni ila man yudilluni ilayk. Allah, guide me to the one who will guide me to you. That might be taken in a spiritual context as well. Yeah, but sometimes a mentor won't always be in your life from the beginning. Sometimes they just pop into your life, and sometimes when you meet someone, a mentor can actually be younger than you. It's yeah. So it's not about like a person with a grey beard and they're 70 years old. A mentor is somebody who you trust that will give you good advice, that has your best interest at heart, and will keep you grounded. Yeah. You know, even if they're younger than you, even if they're within your family, not within your family, whether they're imam, you know, whatever it is. So mentors can be found everywhere. Yeah. But as long as you trust them and you trust they're going to give you good advice, then you should latch onto them.
And for me, being young and black from America, who are these kind of people that I would trust? Specifically older Muslims of any race, but specifically older Muslims, and especially older black Muslims. That's who I would look forward. That's who I would. Those who are that. Excuse my language. He got me getting choked up talking about my mentors. Right? They did so much for us, man. They looked out for 100%. Us. And if we hadn't had mentors and we hadn't had teachers to help us get through life, you know, we would have already ran into a brick wall. And then for me in particular is that mentors. Speaking of the end game, is that mentors are constantly showing you a mirror of yourself to always so you can always know exactly where you are. So that way your purpose never gets jaded. Why? Because your positioning or where you think you are, or who you think you are, it doesn't get jaded. So a mentor has to kind of keep you in your place and say, listen, calm down. You know, maybe you're overstepping your boundaries. Or you know what, maybe you're not doing enough. Maybe you should do more. But he's going to help you do that.
I'm trying to... as you're talking, especially about mentors, and I'm trying to, as I said, like I told you at the beginning, I feel like I spent the day with you because I've been listening to loads of little bits that you've done and talks that you've given and Q&As and everything else. You talk a lot about your teacher and your teachers, and there was one story that you mentioned about, I think at the age of 19, you walked into the masjid and you were having some issues, and you didn't go into the specifics of what they were, but needless to say, they weren't good. You weren't in a good situation, and your teacher helped you through that. There's something about kind of your actions, the way that you present yourself and everything that is genuinely very unique. And I'm not just saying that. Like I genuinely mean this, and inshallah you have a long life and are able to kind of inspire many people. But I'm trying to understand, what is it in the kind of, in your background, in your upbringing, in your experiences that have kind of given you the conviction and made you the person that you are today?
So that teacher, his name is Imam Amin Muhammad. He is from arguably the worst. Some people will say there's another one that's worse, but these are the top 2 worst projects or ghettos in Atlantic City history. And he was like a top guy in the projects. He wasn't. He was like a top guy, right? And he went to prison when he was. He went to Al-Azhar at 19. He came back from Al-Azhar like 3 years later, and after Al-Azhar, then he went to prison for 10 years. Right? I know, right? Like, weird story, right? Azhar, prison, right? Then he went to prison for 10 years, right? And then he came home, and I grew up with his son. I didn't know that was his son. I knew of him from like street legend, but I didn't know of him as like Imam Amin. I just knew of the street legend. And so when I went to the masjid at 19, I didn't even know that was the same guy that everyone always spoke about from the street. I didn't know that until a time later. There was a long time before I put 2 and 2 together that he was the guy from the street legend, right? Like, I never, you know. So our teen years were very rough. Socioeconomically, we were on the bottom of the totem pole. We had nothing. So there was a lot of mistakes made. And when I was 19, I had a cousin. I was in college. I came up from college that summer. I had a cousin in August. His name's Shadi, rahimahullah. And Shadi, he was in prison. My freshman year of college was his first year in jail. He did juvenile jail, but this was his first year in adult jail. He was 20, I was 19. So I was in college 18 to 19. He was in prison 19 to 20. So I'm home from college in the summertime. It's August. I'm going to go back in like 2 weeks. And he's coming home, right? He comes home. He has 2 sons, little Shadi and Shadim. He's released from prison at like 12, maybe 11, 12 p.m. in the morning. And like afternoon, I mean, like 11 to 12 afternoon. And then he was dead by 12 a.m. He was dead by 12 a.m. He was shot at a block party that was celebrating him being released from prison. And I won't talk about details from his death in particular, but I got the call from my mom. She said, I think something happened bad. I think they shot Shadi. I heard that. I hung up. I got out of my bed, and I played football in college, so I had like football shorts on and like my workout stuff. And I just put I think my brother's dirty sneakers on, and I ran like 15 blocks to get over there. And I got there like pretty quickly. And when I got there, and he was just on the ground. He bled internally, so he wore a tank top and capris, and he had on some Nike sneakers with black socks. And the bullet was in his chest, and I remember the smell of burnt flesh. And I remember thinking to myself, why can't I see the blood come out of his body? There was just like a little spot on his tank top, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, I didn't know anything about bleeding internally, or I didn't know about any of that stuff. I'm just wondering, like, well, he's shot. I'm hugging him. I can smell flesh, but where's the blood? My uncle, who I grew up with in my house, like my big brother, he was shot that day. Some other people were shot that day as well. And but I'm just looking at my cousin, who's my friend, and he's just dead. And I'm picking my head up, and I see his brother, I see my cousins, and the ambulance just did not come. It just felt like it took forever for the ambulance to come. And so yeah, we were very lost and confused. I had another cousin, his name was Champsy, and because of the incidents that surrounded Shadi's death, Champsy, he had it rough for a while, and then subsequently, not even a year later, he was sentenced to 10 years in prison. He was just released this October, and October that just passed, not this October that just passed, the October before that, maybe not even October, maybe a little after that, but this October that just passed, 2019, he hadn't been home from prison for a whole year, and he was just killed. So when I say like all my closest of friends are dead or in jail, I'm not just saying that to make a tagline. No, Shadi's dead, and so is Champsy, and Shadi rahimahullah. That's how we learned about a janaza. I went in there and you're not allowed to speak about the body or what you saw in the room, so I can't speak about it. But anyone who's done a janazah, especially for someone who was shot, they can, they understand what I'm saying if they hear this. So that's all I can say about that. But I was in the room, and I remember certain things that changed my life forever. That absolutely changed my life forever. And my wife at that time, I was practicing. I was like, I'm a Muslim because we were born Muslims into a Muslim family, but we weren't really practicing deen. So I had a girlfriend and everything. And my girlfriend at the time, she came to the janazah. It was like her first time in hijab, and she watched us bury my cousin with our bare hands. She watched us get in the grave. She watched us hand him down, and then she watched us move this whole pile of dirt with our hands and shovels. And from that, she became a Muslim. And we've been married for 10 years now, and we have a beautiful family and children. So his death did a lot for me. His death helped me live. Right. And because of his death, I was trying to escape the environment that I lived in. But I didn't know Omar yet. I didn't meet Omar for 10 years after that. Right. Or 7, 8 years. Right. So I didn't know Omar yet. I didn't have any friends in England. I didn't have any friends in the Middle East. I don't have anything. I'm just here and they're killing my friends. And so in our communities, when you want to be a man, when you actually really want to say, you know what, I'm done. I want to live a good life, a wholesome life, a life that matters. I want to contribute to my community, be a man for my family, be a husband, be a father to my children. And I had children at the time. You be a Muslim. So I went to the masjid because there was this guy down there, Imam Amin, who had studied over, all over the world. And he was in our city. He knew the most about Islam, and everybody knew it. Even the guys who disagreed with him, they knew that he knew more than them, and so no one would test him. And then from afar, I used to see him sometime, and I was like, man, that brother walks strong. Like, yo, that brother and his wife though, like when you see this man walk through, bro, you're like, I want to, wherever he's walking, I'm walking with him, right? And then I got to the masjid. I went to the masjid, and I know he was there. But when I got to the masjid, he was there. And then I remember he said, Assalamu alaikum habibi. I don't even know what habibi means, but wa alaikum assalam. That's what I said, right? And then he said, well, come on, it's salat. And then I went to say, he said, you in wudu? And I was like, he said, nah, come on, make wudu. Right? I was wudu, I don't know, bro. I done been praying in a minute, right? And then he went in the bathroom and he was like, do wudu like this. And I was like, oh yeah, my mom told me this, right? Like my mom showed me how to do this. I know how to do this, right? And he said, then we went to pray. And that was the beginning of our relationship. And from that relationship and from his mentorship, he was able, Allah used him to help not only me, but many other young men, many other young black men. He was the one who showed us Islam in motion. He showed us how to practice the religion, how to be Muslims, right? And how that doesn't have to compromise what we have to do as black men. So that's the correlation between that. And to this day, 10 years later, I lost another cousin, right? And he's still the person who helped me with that to today, right? And his advices were some of the advices that got me through, or is getting me through these tough times in my life and in the lives of my family members. And a lot of the things, honestly, not every single thing, but the majority of what you hear me say is something that I heard him say. Or a majority of what I talk about is coming from a context of a conversation I've had with him over some course in the last 10 years.
Thank you for sharing so much with us.
Alhamdulillah.
The strength, honestly, that you kind of exhibit in everything that you do is even more inspiring. The more context we understand. Because I've already heard you previously speak about your father passing away when you were very young.
Rahimahullah.
And you said something incredible about that as well. That I think there was a hadith that you mentioned that you had heard about how...
He told me the hadith, right?
What was it?
When the children of Adam, the Prophet ﷺ, he said that when the offspring of Adam dies, when the Muslim dies, all of his deeds, they stop except for 3. I'm paraphrasing, so please, the hadith police... don't come get me, please.
They'll be in the comments.
Yeah, please. Bismillah, don't. Because even like our teachers, man, you said what, right? So I'm paraphrasing. Please forgive me. But he said that when the offspring of Adam dies, when the Muslim dies, all of his deeds they stop except for 3, and those 3 are knowledge of a continuing benefit, right? So some knowledge that you gave, and this knowledge is still going, right? Is that you get all of that, right? Charity that has a continuing benefit, something you gave and it produced, and it's going and going and you get all of that even after you die, and prayers from a pious offspring. And I ran to the masjid, running away from the streets because death had occurred. Because they say death is a reminder to the believers. Right? Death is the reminder to believers. So because death is the reminder to believers, I'm a believer. I believe. I just need to be reminded that I believe. Allah took someone close to me and I was reminded, okay, I'm a Muslim. I believe. What do believers do? They run to the mosque. So I ran to the mosque. And in there was a man, right, who taught me how to make wudu and pray. And taught me about a hadith that would change my life. Hence, I saw that, and this wasn't that same day I met him. This was some time later, because then over being nice to me, feeding me, taking me out to eat, picking me up, having a conversation with me that he probably wouldn't have otherwise. I'm just like a young street kid, so I'm just kicking it, right? So he's just engaging in a conversation with me. But these days, I can see it now. He only did that with me to help me. But he doesn't talk about he doesn't even talk about basketball, football. He doesn't talk about any of that stuff. If it doesn't start with Qala Rasulullah, he doesn't want to hear it. Right? So after building a relationship with me, he's my parents' age. He actually went to school with my parents, right? He knows my father who was killed. He knows my mother, right? And I still didn't know that this was a guy from the street legend. Over time, the first thing he taught us was prayer, rules of salat, rules of tahara. And after that, we went into, we learned belief first, Aqidah, and then we went right into prayer. And then we learned our obligatory matters of religion. We didn't do any big extra stuff, learn 100 hadith, memorize the juz, memorize Arba'in and no. We just learned our obligations. And during that hadith was the introduction to the book that taught us our obligations.
But that hadith, what's interesting is how you then took that as...
It changed my life.
It changed your life, but it became your life's mission almost.
Yeah. Because that moment was probably more significant in my life than going viral.
Yeah, but it was about attaining a level of piety to kind of give goodness to your father, who was obviously no longer around, and someone that you never really got to.
Because I love my dad, man. Like, I don't know anybody who doesn't love their dad. Like, I love my dad, man. That's my dad. And even though I'm 29 and we only spent a year out of my 29 years together, his impact was lasting on me, because I grew up in a city where everyone from the top of the city all the way to downtown, from uptown to downtown, everyone says, yo, look, they call me Little Ali. They say, yo, you look just like your dad. Or if I smile or if I talk, they say, you talk just like your dad. You walk just, I've been hearing this since I was a kid. And so I didn't have a lot of him, but he left back an amount of respect that people gave me, an amount of love because I was his son. And from that love, it just made me really love my people. Specifically, my mom and my dad, because before I came from all of my people, I came from them. And so anything you see of me, I ask that Allah, that he reward my parents for. I mean, and as far as my dad in particular, Rahimahullah, he was a victim. He was a victim of socioeconomics. He was a victim of the crack era. He was a victim. He was a victim of loads and loads and loads of cocaine being pumped into black communities. Like when they watch that show on Netflix, Narcos, and then, Pablo's having the meeting and he's talking about this and that and how we're going to get the drugs to the black community and all of that, right? Well, my dad's one of those kids who they got the drugs to. And subsequently he was killed, him and many others. And the rest of them, I think Bill Clinton made like the RICO law or something like that. And I know guys who've done 10 years, 11 years, 12 years, 13 years, 15 years in prison for $50 worth of crack. It doesn't make any sense. $50 worth of crack and 15 years in prison. But that's what happened to my generation. I'm 29, you're 29. All of our fathers who are between the ages of 45 and 55, who were born between 1965 and 1975, who in the 80s were between 15 and 25, that group of black men in America were wiped off. And hence you see the real beginning of profitable prisons.
I was just about to come into
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Even
So
like
there's
there's a documentary called The 13th on.
I just told Omar in the car that he should watch it.
The
That's what I was
13th
talking
is,
about. 13th
is
yeah.
mandatory viewing for everyone.
No, I mean, you know what? And I'm usually, like I said, I'm usually like some of the ways that black people, like some of the academic black people view blacks in America. My thing is, don't make me a victim. Right? Like I'm telling my parents were victims, but right now, today, at 29 years old, I'm a man and I'm a Muslim. Right? I have every opportunity that Allah has given me. That's all I need. Right? So we have to take this narrative from, because young people, they want to fight. That's why they keep going off to all these wrong groups or getting involved with the wrong things or getting involved with gangs or neighborhood. That's why, because we're not giving them something good to fight for. Right? Young people don't want to cower and run away.
And they don't have mentors as well.
And it's right. And so the thing is that, so we have to show our young people that it's okay to stand up and be strong. Right? But the 13th, or 13th, however you say it, not however you say it, the 13th, hopefully that's how you say it. Right? So the 13th is that, I really agree with, like, especially Michelle Alexander. Oh man, she's on point. She's so on point. And she has a book. There's a man named Omar Salim. He was like one of the hugest drug dealers in Atlantic City history. He's a Muslim, and today he's probably not even. I'm gonna say probably for the sake of all the work everyone else does, but he's probably the longest running best mentor in the projects of Atlantic City today. So out of all the bad he's done in the last 20 years, I mean, he's done more good than you can think of for poor black boys. This man he just works for young kids, works, underdeveloped, underserved, parents who do drugs, parents who got killed, parents who go to jail, right? Kids who don't have money for shoes. And his whole thing is education. Do what we need to do so they can be educated. Because kids can't go to school hungry, right? Kids don't learn hungry, right? So he gave me a book from Michelle Alexander some years ago called The New Jim Crow. I recommend it for everyone. She hinted on that book in the documentary The 13th, right? And I was telling Omar in the car, I said, man, to really understand the black context in America, especially if we're going to work on each other, for the long haul, and I think we're going to be working with each other for the long haul, is that I need you to understand some other particular things. So I've recommended that particular documentary. But the book, now I'm recommending for you to read the book, The New Jim Crow. When you understand the American prison system as a business, oh, man. Then you'll understand why is it so profitable for Jay-Z to be Jay-Z. Like, I don't want to be like Jay-Z, bro. But in England and Africa, all they know about black people is Jay-Z.
You know that there's another podcast that I listen to. I don't want to go on too long. I think we need to wrap up soon. But just very quickly, there's a documentary, and they talk about how, not documentary, a podcast, and they talk about how the only black people that are basically famous are through comedy or sports.
That's it.
Or
crime.
Or
he may have not said that, but I'm just going to add.
Yeah.
Or crime.
And you don't
comedy,
actually,
sports, crime.
You don't actually see it. And they were talking about it from like the perspective of TV. So how many TV anchors, for example, or like talk show hosts
Because how we started the conversation, things that are good don't give views.
Yeah.
100%.
Doesn't make money.
Especially like when you talked about, a lot earlier, you talked about the mainstream and media and whatever else. So one of the things I wanted to say about that is that even with the Muslim vibe, we've tried to create our own platform. Alhamdulillah, we've grown it to a place now where we have 900,000 social media followers, 250,000 website visitors a month.
MashaAllah. May Allah bless it.
But we control the narrative. It's not about us trying to get into the mainstream. It's about us owning the space and reclaiming our voice.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what you guys
and it's
do
a
a
vibe,
fantastic
bro.
job.
I can feel it. It's a vibe,
Thank
bro.
you very much, man.
You know, about the point you made, there's a rapper, Cameron, from Harlem in New York. And he has a line in one of his songs. It's an old song, but he has a line in one of his raps. And SDE, where he uses a sample from Biggie Smalls, Notorious B.I.G., who died, the famous rapper. And he uses a clip from him, right, where he says, "The streets is a short stop. You're either slinging crack rock or you got a wicked jump shot." Right? But to make the point
that's basically...
That's what you're... the streets is a short stop, bro.
But I want to end on a bit of a high note.
Okay.
And again, I'll ask you a question you've been asked before. From this whole experience, from the video, from everything that's happened, there was one thing that you said was like the standout positive that came from it. And I think not a lot of people know this about one of the young brothers in the video. So can you kind of just share that? And I think it's
alhamdulillah. One of the brothers in the video, he became Muslim.
Yeah.
And the other kid in the video, he's going to college this year. And I believe he has a full scholarship.
Crazy.
And I'm not going to say who's who. And because those kids, they decided not to do it. Even at home, when you see them, they're just regular guys, man. And they could have done more. but they decided not to do it. I think that's the thing where I'm from. Atlantic City, where it is, there are stars there all the time. There, like we literally live because we have casinos where we live. So in the neighborhoods we live in, it doesn't get dark at nighttime. It just lights up, right? So we grew up in a like nocturnal society where the nighttime is the lifetime, right? So so there's stars always born in the city, right? Like that type of deal. And those kids just decide to say, no, we don't want to do this. I don't want to keep talking about me fighting. I don't want to keep talking about some guy saving my life because he broke up a fight. I don't want to do it, right? And which is beautiful, I think, because they were honest and sincere in that. But for me, the greatest thing is like, nah, man, that kid became a Muslim.
We found Islam through
that kid. And for me, it's like, is that what Allah, like, not is that what Allah wanted? That is what Allah wanted. But for me, I say, okay, I have to do what Allah put in front of me, because if even one person became a Muslim, it's worth to do.
And I think a note to your words on mentors. I think they found the mentor in you in that experience.
Yeah, and in that those kids they also have other mentors who mentor them more closely than I do, but because they were good kids, they trusted me when I instructed them on goodness. That's the point I'm making, is that they were familiar with goodness, right? So they were able to accept goodness. But nah, man, we got a message that we gotta help some other bad kids be good too. And so may Allah help all of the kids, not just because you know what, the young men, right? These are young men, right? So may Allah help all the young men and all the young women around the world who need help, right? May He help them correct themselves, correct their hearts, correct their vision. May He give them sound hearts and sound minds. And may He allow them to take in consideration, as they do anything, to take in consideration their purpose and always think about their end goal. May Allah Ta'ala allow them to find true and sincere mentors that will take them to Him. And that's for American, for England, or for anywhere else in the world. We ask that Allah Ta'ala protect everyone and shed everyone under His mercy. Ameen.
Ameen.
And I think just one final note as well for the both of you. Whatever you're currently doing together is working.
Oh, mashallah.
I think like the message that
I don't do nothing. Can I be honest with you? All I did with Omar was agree, right? He said, listen, I will not compromise the dawah. I real quick, I'm going to tell you this because I still don't do my social media, bro. Right? Like I'll write the story or I'll write what I'm saying, but I'm not even the one who posts it. I just write what I'm saying and I let them post it when they want to post it or do what they want to do. Right? I just want to be me. And then if me and whom we've spoken so much over the last couple of years about principles and about not compromising and about what my true intention is. And I trust that he knows it now.
But maintain that is what I'm saying. Like you guys have to maintain.
But if I'm the one posting the picture, how sincere? Because if I post a picture, I got to go back and check the likes. Right? Like, so like the little red, the little red hearts that pop up. I got to go check the little, the brrr, right? So trying to stay sincere and watch my own heart. I just rather just do what it is that I believe to be true. And then understanding that if you want to help the future, you're going to have to be on social media. You're going to be on YouTube. You're going to be on Facebook. Why? Because that's where the future is.
But you know what's interesting is that for the last 3 years, Ibn Ali's hardly posted on social media. Probably on average once every 2 months, you might say. But where the power in his brand is, if you want to call it a brand, is these human-to-human interactions. And that's something I would recommend anyone who's trying to build a personal brand, who's trying to influence people, is first get really good at meeting people, building a connection with people face to face. Because there's people who are posting on Instagram 3 to 5 times a day. They still have no relevance, no credibility. They're not making much money or whatever they're trying to do. But it's because they're trying to actually do something without doing the groundwork. And the groundwork is always meeting people face to face, building human connections. And that's really how you start to influence people from the ground up. Yeah.
And the best person that has ever done that is the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So that's how you're going to learn how to do that. Because he gives me compliments sometimes that are very unbefitting. And may Allah make me better at human interaction with others, and may He make me less repulsive to the people I've met. Ameen.
Ibn Ali, you're genuinely this seat is yours for life. Whenever you want to come back, you're here. But Omar, I think we should probably sit down at some point in the next couple of months and actually discuss and explore this a bit more, because I think 100%. the area and the conversation around influencers, and we've talked about selfies just before we started recording and everything else, but I think that's a conversation that needs to be had, and understanding, exploring that landscape and how to kind of use it, because I personally, I don't want to have this conversation now, but I don't feel like it's possible to actively be the one posting out and whatever and not fall into this trap of the narcissism of it.
It's rough, bro. I don't for me personally, I don't know how, like, I know there are a lot of people who do this, but I struggle with it. Like,
but it's been built for you to fail at it. You know, like these people are very educated people.
They've gamified the whole system.
It's crazy the way that they've created the
I don't want to play that game
to cocaine. You know, like
it's crazy.
The addictive nature.
They call it carcinogens.
Right. The way it's been designed.
It's I think I was watching a food show with my wife. I think cheese has carcinogens or something, but I think it gives endorphins.
Have you heard of the Daily Mail?
Endorphins. They liken that to crack too. Say it again.
The Daily Mail.
The Daily Mail, no.
Yeah, you would love the Daily Mail.
Okay, yeah.
Every day there's a different headline going, oh, this has cancer, this has
this.
Like, everything's got a problem.
The cheese, something about, but I love pizza, so we'll keep the carcinogens and the cheese.
Well, no, thank you both for coming
thank you
in.
as well.
Thank you so much for sharing kind of your insight. And as I said, you're both welcome back.
Allah bless you guys, bless your parents. I mean
as well. And enjoy the rest of your trip in the UK.
May Allah bless it. May Allah bless it. And may Allah keep all of us, every single one of us who are here tonight, may He keep us truly sincere. And at any moment of insincerity, because it happens, especially with myself, we ask that Allah remind us of what's real, so that way we can always do what's real. Ameen.